Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Crawley Town Supporters Alliance Simply Reds podcast. My name is Reuben, and I'm joined by Louie. You doing all right, Louie?
Good evening. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you doing, Reuben?
Yeah, I'm not doing too badly, thank you. I mean, it's been a few weeks, if not, it's almost a month since we last did one of these.
I
A
think it's
mix
about
of that.
3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, a mix of that flu going round and me being hungover from Christmas parties and Wi-Fi issues.
And general, a mix of things, yeah. Illness, technical issues, and just
And it's just not the most
clashes.
exciting time to talk about Crawley either, is it?
Well, I'd like to think that we're professional enough to get around that, but yes, there's not been a lot to shout about in the last few weeks. But yeah, mixture of a few things means we've probably taken a longer, not an intended break, but definitely a longer gap between recording than we normally would do.
Yeah, we do this whether we win, lose, or draw, so it's just unfortunate.
We don't really have much of a choice because we wouldn't do many if it was only wins.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, mind you, for our listeners, that might be a good thing.
Yeah, we're acting as if people have been missing us from their ears recently, but perhaps it's been a welcome break.
Nobody's messaged me asking.
Nobody's asked. No.
When's the next one coming back?
No, a fellow I stand next to at the games. I know he listens, but he hasn't mentioned it. He didn't mention it on Saturday. He didn't say, "Oh, where have you been recently?" on the podcast. Like, what's happening with the podcast? So, perhaps, yeah. But anyway, let's moving on.
But I think before we jump into matches, let's just talk about the latest news this week with Steve Evans going to Bristol Rovers.
No longer Big Steve Evans.
No, he's not. Fair play to him.
Now,
he's done a cracking. He's got a cracking body now.
Now, you say fair play to him. I think we all know what's happened here. I think we all know, despite his interview on Sky maybe 2-3 months ago, where he reckoned it was a hard regime of dieting and exercise, I think we all know that there's been some assistance there from. Well, we're not being paid to advertise, so I'm not going to say the brand name, but from a well-known, recently exploded onto the market weight loss drug, and I've got nothing against it. If it's helping him live a healthier life, and all the more power to him. But I think that's all. Say there's no way he's achieved that without some assistance, some performance enhancing drugs. If we're going to use a sporting term. But
yeah, I don't know when I last saw a picture of him, but no, fair play to him. I know people always take the mick a little bit about Steve Evans, but from a managerial perspective, he's a cracking signing.
Higher,
yeah, signing for Rovers.
Yeah, I think, and it's not great news for us because they're one of the teams below us. They've been really struggling this season. And if there's one thing that Steve Evans will do, he will get them organised, he'll get them functional, and he'll make them really hard to beat. And that's one thing they haven't been recently. And also, I think they've lost 10 on the bounce before appointing him. I don't know if their performances have been 10 losses in a row bad. I think they've probably been a little bit unlucky at times looking at their numbers. But he's probably got more to work with than their recent form might suggest. And we know he's just a really good manager at this level. So it's not great news for us. And also, what isn't great news is his weight loss means that what are opposition fans going to chant at him now? He's kind of just pulled the rug from under everybody, every opposing fan, every fan who goes to the Memorial Ground this season, every ground that Bristol Rovers go to. It's ruined. In many ways, it's ruined the weird charm that playing a Steve Evans side used to have. So but it's on a serious note, it is a good appointment for Bristol Rovers. I think they'll slowly climb the table. I wouldn't expect them to be in too much trouble. And also it helps that I think that there are just a lot of bad teams in League 2 at the moment. So I don't think you have to be very good to stay up anyway this season. And I think that'll bear out if Bristol Rovers have even a slight improvement, that will bear out, and I would expect them to.
Yeah. Well, speaking of not very good teams, should we start talking about Crawley now?
Well, that's I'll set you up there, haven't I? Yes.
Hugely.
Yeah. Let's dive in. We've got 3
So
games to talk about.
we played Salford a few weeks ago, 29th of November, away. And I mean, it's a typical Crawley 4-3 there.
Yeah, a game where
Um,
both teams seem to abandon the concept of defending, which, as a neutral, is obviously very fun. Obviously, been a couple of recent Premier League games where that's happened, and I think Crawley perhaps took some inspiration from, or maybe they've been inspired by Crawley, these recent sort of high-scoring Premier League games. Because, yeah, I mean, what can we say that we've already said about? We played generally quite well in the first half. And I promise you, listeners, this isn't just a copy paste of a podcast that we've recorded from maybe 2 months ago. This is just genuinely, we're saying the same things over and over, aren't we, really? We played pretty well first half. We take a lead, concede just before half time. A pretty soft goal to concede, it felt like. Concede just after half time, or, 8 minutes into the second half. And suddenly we're on the back foot. And to be fair, we do react well. And I think we actually played quite well. Sort of after that, we got into the game for a Harry Forster free kick, got back level, and then another free kick which Jay Williams nods in with a flicked header. And I thought between sort of around the second and third goal, up until maybe the sort of the 80th minute, I thought we were really good. In that there was a period of 20 minutes where Salford couldn't get near us. We were playing out from the back. They couldn't press us. They didn't really know how to kind of approach that, what their off the ball approach should be. And I think the subs that we made, where I think we brought Jack Rolls on and near the start of the second half, and we brought Dion. Sorry, yeah, with about 25 minutes to go, we bring on Dixon, Pereira, and Rolls, and I think that made a big difference. At that point, it was 2-2, and then we really got a foothold in the game. Good ball in from Rolls for Williams to put Nodderson in front, and you kind of think, right, we've shown a bit of character there. We've gone behind, but we did show some character to get in front. And then any character that we did show, it's suddenly like an absolute vacuum of character and spine and whatever other cliches you want to throw. Mentality, all of that. Because to concede 2 goals in the way that we did to lose the game, it's unforgivable. It really, and it's just. It sums us up. That game, I think that game sums us up the season. Moments of quality, really good spells in games, good, decent performance, and just utterly abysmal moments from individual moments in games. And I'm not going to dig out any players, but utterly abysmal individual moments in games that have cost us. And I really feel for Scott because it's, I know some of these are players that he's recruited and that he would have handpicked in the summer. But I don't know what more he can be expected to do with this set of players if they're going to constantly be making these mistakes, because he's not the one, telling someone not to, he's not the one telling them to leave a man unmarked at the back post for Salford's third goal, or to just give the ball away practically straight from kickoff, 25 yards from goal. And it's just frustrating. There's not a lot more we can say. I think we must use the word, or at least I've used the word frustrating on this season so many times, but it really is. It's God knows how he must be feeling.
You haven't even mentioned probably what could have been a turning point in the game.
And
that is the missed shot from 9 yards away with Harry McCurdy missing a penalty.
Yeah,
in the 47th minute, just after half time.
That would have put us 2-1 up. And I mean. Yeah. Again, our penalty record is. What can you even say? We've had 6 penalties this season. I think we missed the last 4. McCurdy scored our first 2 penalties this season would have been at Chesterfield and then at home to Cheltenham, and then he's missed 3 since, and Ryan Loft missed 1 against Bristol Rovers, which thankfully didn't really matter in the end. But it's just, it's remarkable. I've never seen anything like it. Like. I know penalty. You do miss the occasional penalty, and if you get 6 penalties in the season, you might, or so far this season, you might have expected to miss 1, maybe 2, but to miss 4 penalties is remarkable. And they're all. I mean, again, what can you say? I think we're all just quite. I think we're all just quite drained at this point in the season. I know we've still got 2 more games to talk about before to kind of to get to that point of how we're all feeling now. But it's felt like a really long season already.
It has.
Without wanting to be too negative, it has felt like a really long season.
Yeah, I mean, just quickly back on that penalty. I mean, it's the attacker probably has the advantage, I think, over the goalkeeper.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, the stats bear it out. Yeah.
And so, like, you need to at least be scoring 50%,
Yeah.
plus 50%.
I mean,
considering what was the last season, we had like 1 penalty.
I think I remember we got.
Go on, you can probably tell me what games we've had a penalty.
I do remember we got a penalty in the game we lost towards the end of the season against Leyton Orient. I think we might have had 3 penalties last season because I feel like we got a penalty against Shrewsbury in that game in Rob Elliott's first home game in charge, where I think we definitely scored. Oh, did we get a penalty? we definitely got 2 or 3 penalties last season. I remember the last one was against Leyton Orient at home where we went 1-0 up and ended up losing 3-1. But yeah, we've had a weird amount of penalties this season for a side that haven't really been that great in the final third. But yeah, I mean, I think it's something like 78% or 75, 80% in that region of penalties are scored typically. So yeah, you'd expect us to maybe miss 1, possibly 2, because stats, there is a bit of variance there and whatever. But yeah, to miss 4 out of 6 is, and also it's. With McCurdy's penalty technique, he's making it so easy for the keeper because if the keeper just stays relatively close to the middle of the goal and dives, he's got a great chance of saving it because McCurdy's really not able to get the penalty, into the corners, and he's giving the keeper with this stupid run up he's doing. He's giving the keeper like such a that advantage that you have as the penalty taker, where you have a massive odds advantage. He's not completely, but he's massively undermining that. So it's quite, it's just quite bizarre, really. But yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to say about the penalty situation beyond that. It's, who else have we got who's going to take the penalties? If McCurdy's not taking them, you might think one of the other forward players, but maybe Dion Pereira if he's on the pitch. He's got a good left foot, good technique.
Well, I mean, anyone really.
Yes, but quite literally, I'm literally sort of racking my brains thinking,
put in Wallacott or.
I mean,
Barker.
I just think it's pretty extraordinary. But there's only so much we can dwell on it because otherwise it would drive us mad.
Yeah. On that note,
and I'm sure we'll come on to penalties later. But anyway, yeah.
Let's move on to a game against Bromley away. First time definitely in the league we've played Bromley.
Yes,
played them.
We haven't played them in the league. I don't think we played them in the cup before either. So
actually, no, I don't think so. But we lost 3-1. Ryan Loft scoring the first goal, and then 44th, 50th, 69th. Bromley then go and score.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to rewind to about 5 minutes ago where I was summing up the Salford game and I talked about goals either side of half time, a decent first half performance, we take the lead, goals either side of half time, and then it's just, again, you're just tearing your hair out. I can't imagine what Scott's thinking after that because the first half was quite even. And if you're away from home against Bromley are really strong at home. So you go away from home and quite even in the first half, you 1-0 up going into half time. You are really probably quite pleased with that. We didn't create loads, neither did they. And the goal that we did score, it was a carbon copy of the goal that Loft scored against Walsall a couple of months ago. McCurdy sort of checks back onto his right foot, crosses it to the back post, and Loft is there to head home. And fair play to Loft. He's I don't think he's offered a lot to us this season, but he has at least got a handful of goals, which is more than I think possibly we expected after the first couple of games he played for us.
And spoiler alert, he gets another one in the next game.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, if you didn't know, if you weren't aware of the Oldham score, but yeah.
Yeah, if you've been waiting for this podcast for the results,
What are you doing if that is the case? But anyway,
yeah,
yeah, you're going into half time. You think just see out the half, and again, it's a mentality thing, it's a focus thing, it's a concentration, it's professionalism. It, goals, goals and poor performances, goals going against you and poor performances, they happen. If you play so many matches in the season that you are going to concede from corner, you are going to concede from set pieces, you're going to concede on just before half time. These things happen. It's just the law of averages. But for it to happen so consistently to us this season, where we have a good first half, we might even take the lead and then we throw it away, or we don't take advantage of being on top in a game and we let the other team back in and we drop points where we shouldn't, or don't pick up the points that we should. It's happening. I reckon if we went through every game of the season, we'd need two pairs of hands to count how many times that's happened this season. It's not a coincidence. It's not statistical variance. It's not a fluke. The fact that this keeps happening to us, where we keep showing a really soft mentality or a soft underbelly, whatever you want to call it, it's not a coincidence. I think we are a soft team overall. There's quality in the team, and I think we're coached quite well. I think if you look at the underlying numbers, as I like to bring up every week, every time we record, they have us as a pretty good team who would be challenging for the playoffs. But the reality doesn't bear that out, because we're not taking advantage of that, and we're not actually, whatever it is, whether it's mental toughness, whether it's professionalism, whether it's concentration, whether it's just, I don't know what it is, but whatever it is something within the side that just isn't working. And if you compare it to the side that went up a couple of years ago, where we got so many points from games late on, we got so many points coming from behind, so many comebacks, and so many sort of memorable games where we scored in the last minute. I mean, the difference, the contrast is so noticeable. It can make or break your season, those moments. So
yeah,
if you look at the position, we should be nowhere near the relegation zone with the general level of performance this season. And I know not everyone will agree with that, because I know people think we are a poor team, but I don't think we are. I think the numbers don't, the underlying numbers, the performances don't bear that out. The results do, obviously, and that's kind of what matters, I know. But if we there's something that I can't quite put my finger on, and it's individual moments of quality at each end where we're letting ourselves down defensively. We're not taking our chances. We're not being ruthless when we're on top of games. We're not seeing games out when we're in good positions. And it's costing us. And it's costing us probably 20 to 25 points already this season. I honestly, well, maybe not that many, but I'm near on 20 points, I'd reckon. We've been in a completely different position. We should be nowhere near where we are, which is why I get frustrated when we've seen a lot of people pointing the finger at Scott. And I know that's what happens, because the manager's the easiest thing to change in football. But if you think another manager is going to come in and do any differently or do any better with these players, I really, really couldn't disagree more. Because
yeah, I mean, just looking at some stats for the league, we're currently top for average possession, 59.9%. We've currently 7th on expected goals, 5th shots on target per match. We're 16th on big chances, and just on defence, we are trying to find some interesting stats. Saves per match 3.2, which is 3rd highest
in
the league.
That's quite damning, I think, because I think we're giving. We're not. I don't think this season the Crawley Town keeper has the easiest of jobs, to be quite frank. But that being said, I think I'm at a loss as to what it is that can change without significant sort of activity in January. Bringing 4 or 5 players in and maybe shifting a few, just to make room in the squad and just to boost the levels in the squad. I'm struggling to think what we can do, because I don't think changing the manager solves much. I don't think. I think that probably make things worse. And this, you can't just get rid of a squad of 25, 30 players in one window and bring in and replace them. That just doesn't work like that. So I think it is a case of just hoping that we can get some quality in January, hoping that we can get a goal scorer in, we can get maybe some defensive reinforcements in as well. I think one of the issues this season, I think possibly explains a lot, and Scott's touched on it either before or after the Oldham game, is just the injury situation and being able to consistently field the same 8, 9 players most weeks. You obviously change a few players every game because you can't play the same 11 every game. But again, complete contrast with the playoff winning side, where you could probably name 8 or 9 players from that season who played 80+% of our games. Guys like Gordon and Cerula had spells on the sidelines. Jeremy Kelly obviously came in only halfway through the season, but the back three, who the back three was: Maguire, Conroy, Wright. McKenna had to fit in where there was injuries occasionally, but you knew what the team. You went to most games knowing what the team was going to look like for the most part. You rock up to the Broadfield Stadium this season and you've got no idea. You've got no idea because suddenly someone's injured, and it's really hard. And I think that it also explains why there's perhaps a lack of bond between the team and the fans this season as well, because you've got no connection.
You can't get that connection.
Yeah, you can't get a connection with the players when they're chopping and changing every week.
Just having a look at the squad, I mean, likes of Scott Malone.
Yeah.
We've got Max Anderson, of course. We've got Kyle Scott. Don't know if he's injured or what. Danny Cashman.
Yep.
I forgot somebody mentioned him the other on Twitter or X, whatever, and I was like, I forgot he even played for us.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it on. Sorry, go on.
Louis Flower, and Schwanme.
Yeah, and then I mean, Cashman, Malone, Flower, Anson, they've all been injured at the moment. Pereira's spent a lot of time injured. Carl Scott's presumably injured. Jay Williams obviously had a long-term injury as well. He was out for 2-3 months with his hamstring. So yeah, what can you do especially a lot of those are sort of players who we'd expect to play out wide as well. The likes of Cashman, Malone, Pereira. So having to chop and change your attacking options or your wide options every week just doesn't help get any sort of fluency in possession when you're trying to create chances. Just looking at our squad at the moment, and Josh Flint's played every minute in the league, which, considering he had a nasty injury last season, is really, I guess that's a positive, and that's testament to him, how well he's come back from that injury. Ben Radcliffe as well came in, played a couple of games, looked really good. Scott was full of praise for him, and then he's disappeared off the face of the earth. Presumably injured.
Yeah, he last played for us against Peterborough.
Yeah. He played in our league win over Bristol Rovers, I want to say, but I could be wrong. It was around that time of the season anyway. So yeah, I mean, ultimately Fleetwood. Sorry, Fleetwood. Yeah, I knew it was going to be one. Yeah.
We won 2-1. But yeah, I mean, it's either these players are injured or they just perform terribly on the training pitch.
Yeah, I mean,
that's got to be the only reason why.
It's baffling, and I mean, I get that Scott's not going to come out and say, well, they're just not selectable because they're not putting the effort in, or they're not training well. And I mean, we know our injury situation is bad, and it has been for a few seasons now. Before Scott's first spell in charge, I remember under John Yems there was a lot of injuries. Under Rob Elliott last season as well, there was a lot of injuries, which didn't help him. So it's a problem that's been going on for a while. So it's difficult to know what the cause is. We all thought it was probably because they were training on artificial turf. I'm pretty sure they're training on grass this season, and that doesn't seem to have helped anything. It's as bad as it's ever been in terms of the injuries. So, but that's all to say. That doesn't help. Having to change the back line as frequently as having to chop and change in midfield. I mean, we play a different midfield every week. How are you meant to get any sort of fluency going? How are you meant to make any sort of meaningful? We all talk about midfield partnerships, centre back pairings and defensive partnerships and all of that.
Mm.
But we've got nothing. But, I mean, obviously, our player with the second most minutes for us is Charlie Barker this season. So we've got two defenders who are practically playing every game. But outside of that, it's Harry McCurdy's played pretty much every minute that he's been available. Adi Adiemo.
Well, you say that. You say that. I mean, moving on to the game on Saturday, McCurdy nowhere to be seen.
Injured, I think. Yeah. I mean, again, injured. So he's obviously, and he has had his injury problems recently. He obviously got suspended after being sent off. What was it at? I can't remember what game it was now. When he got second yellow at. It escapes me, and then he's had injury problems since. So and despite the fact he's frustrating in terms of his wastefulness in front of goal, he is a live wire and he does create stuff, and he is a problem. And he is probably our most dangerous player going forward. Yeah, Louis Flower.
But yeah, like so if we touch on the Oldham game, then
of course, yeah. Sorry,
we drew 2-2 at home. Loft and Shamanga scoring both of our goals. Again, Oldham scoring in the 50th minute, so 5 minutes after half time, then the 68th minute. So it was 2-1 to them, and we clawed it back with a goal by Shamanga. I mean, on the injuries front, one positive was, one thing was that Davies came back, Harvey, in goal. And yeah, I mean, I don't know whether there's a clause to say if he's fit to play, he's got to play.
I mean, I would assume there isn't, purely because he's been available for a few weeks now, and obviously he got injured. Jojo came in and initially did quite well, and so it kind of felt harsh to drop him, and that was, I think, what Scott hinted at the time. But perhaps with how a couple of the recent games have gone, not that I think Walcott's actually to blame or made any claims, but I wonder if maybe there's an element of distribution, and Davies is probably more comfortable on the ball. I wonder if it's a tactical thing rather than saying. I can only assume that's what it is. But we couldn't really do much about either of the goals against Oldham, and he generally did okay. So it's certainly not a decision that's. Yeah.
It was a frustrating game, wasn't it? The Oldham game, where we probably should have got something from it. I mean, there was a contentious penalty, not penalty.
Yeah, I mean,
but I mean, Scott says the referee did get it right. It was just a bit of a shambles of a few minutes.
I think shambles is one way of putting it, and you're right. I mean, overall, it was a frustrating game. First half, we played pretty well again. We're talking about another game where we played well in the first half, another game where we're taking the lead with a really good finish from Loft. First time to keep it sort of low and hard past the keeper, and on the half volley as well, like sort of on the bounce. It was a really good finish. And then we forced their keeper into a couple of good saves after that without really creating loads. But we I kind of expect that because Oldham, I know the game finished 2-2, but going into that game, Oldham games had been the least or seen the least goals in the league up until this point, and they probably still have. I think there was like 30 goals in their games this season, which was by far the lowest in league. So not a side that creates loads, but certainly not a side that gives a lot of goals away. And you kind of felt like, so going 1-0 up against a team that's not scoring many goals at all this season, you kind of felt like we should be able to see the game out, especially at home. So again, to collapse in sort of the first 15 minutes of the second half in the way that we did was pretty frustrating. I mean, the first goal feels, just a little bit. I mean, there's not much the keeper can do about it. We kind of half deal with the set piece. I think it came from a set piece situation. And then Mellon cuts back onto his right foot, got loads of space and time, and just bends it into the far corner. It's kind of typical of the sort of goal we've conceded at times this season. Going back to the Bromley game quickly, the goals we conceded there, the second one, split Bromley in the lead, was similar, kind of unlucky, where it's deflected and it's not necessarily bad defending, but we half clear it and the shot comes in from 25 yards and it's deflected past the keeper. But back onto the Oldham game, and then obviously they start to really put the pressure on us, and that their second goal was coming. They probably deserved. They were well on top at that point. They probably deserved it.
Yeah.
But the way we give it away, just I don't know how that happens. And then it's the easiest goal. I mean, it's a sort of chance you dream of as a forward player. You throw on goal, no pressure on you, and you just lash it past the keeper. It's and I think at that point we all just thought, here we go again. But to be fair,
I was expecting quite a few to go in after that.
I mean, yeah, it was just that was a period of the game where we just needed to see it out, because they were putting a lot of pressure on us. They were testing us. Davies had to make a couple of saves, I think. So it wasn't. It was a goal that was coming. But the fact that we couldn't see that period out and we gave away such a soft goal you felt like you've dealt with the pressure, you've got away with it a little bit, and then to give away such a soft goal is just, again, sums us up this season, I think. But we actually reacted quite well after that. I thought we made a few changes, and again, Shimanga comes on to score off the bench. A really, really good goal. One of my favourite goals we scored this season, actually, purely because of it did kind of come on the counter. It did come a little bit against the run of play, but I felt like we did generally react well to the goal. We did tighten up, and then we got ourselves back into the game. We got a foot on the game, and then just a long ball high up in the air. Pereira brings it down beautifully, one touch, plays in Shimanga with a pass for his second touch, and then Shimanga does really, really well to get beyond the defender, hold him off, and finish at the near post under the keeper. Really, really, really good goal. I think the biggest compliment I can give it is I think Shimanga made it look a lot easier than it probably was in terms of just everything that he had to do. He still had a lot to do in that pass when he's running onto that. He still had to, have the pace to get in behind, the physicality to hold off the defender, and then the finish. And I think it's encouraging because that's not something we've seen a lot from Shimanga this season in terms of pace and strength. So perhaps he's starting to get more comfortable at League 2 level, and perhaps being sub suits him, and there's a bit more space for him to run into, or defenders are a bit tired, and he's able to exploit that a little bit. But whatever it is, he's playing well off the bench. He's getting goals off the bench, so it seems to be the one thing that is working for us at the moment. But yeah, and obviously we get to the end of the game, we're putting a bit of pressure on them, and we're looking like the team that will probably go on and win if there is to be a winner. And
yeah, I think so. I mean, it's just I think it's always the case. We almost had it have happened, had we kind of got a bit of momentum 5 minutes earlier, we probably would have got a goal.
Yeah,
but it's just almost a bit of
if it was a little bit too late. But yeah, and then obviously the very last kind of seconds of the game, corner swung in. There's a handball. No one's, at least from where I was standing and everyone else around in the terrace, all we see is a hand and a ball hit that hand, or the arm more accurately, and no one's quite sure what's happened. But everyone obviously shouts for handball. The referee gives a penalty, and there's that, for me at least, there was a moment of joy. Like, oh, we've got a penalty, like literally it's going to be the last kick of the game. Brilliant. Like, and then there's a moment of like, oh, we've got a penalty. We conceded our last 4 penalties. So there was kind of like a moment of realization that I think a few other people around me definitely had, where we all just looked at each other and thought, well, we're going to miss it anyway. So like, my second instinct was just like, okay, well, all right, we're going to miss it. So I'm not going to get my hopes up. And then obviously Oldham players spent a good minute or so complaining to the referee. The referee then consults the linesman and decides to disallow the penalty, which I mean, I've still not been able to watch the non-penalty incident back, so I don't know. I can't say for sure what happened, but Scott didn't seem too miffed. He seemed to think it was Charlie Barker who handballed it, and I've seen a few other people say that, so I'm gonna assume that is true. But what is frustrating is the process that was involved, and I think, perhaps had the if you're a referee, you've made a decision, and I feel like he's almost been kind of not bullied, I don't know if that's the right word, but very much strong-armed into talking to his assistant referee and overturning his decision by the fact that the Oldham players spent a good minute just refusing to leave the penalty area and complaining to him. And again, I'm not sure anyone really wants to see yellow cards for this sort of thing, but I was under the impression that if you are showing dissent to the referee in the way that about 7 or 8 Oldham players were, complaining, shouting at him, why was he not booking them? Why was he not just saying, "No, I've made my decision"?
Yeah. I always
It's the
think
sort of
that
thing.
as well.
I think it does undermine referees. Like if the referee, because why is he's done completely the opposite of what he should do in that situation.
It'd be interesting to see what's happening. I mean, this is a topic for another pod, but interesting if say they were to roll out, say, sin bins like they do lower leagues, into say professional football.
Yeah, and I get the instinct to complain. I do. We do it as fans, where we get a decision against us, and we're like, we complain, and we'll all have played at various levels where we complain about the referee at Sunday League level, or Reuben, you used to referee yourself, so you've probably been on the other end of it, where But so I think the natural instinct when something goes against you and you feel wronged is to complain about it, and I get that, but the referee had no control in that situation. He should have just stood his ground, said, right, if you carry on, we'll just start dishing out bookings. But I mean, that's by the by. It doesn't really make a difference to the end result. Scott seems to suggest that there was a foul on Harry Forster that the penalty should have been given for anyway. So maybe we should have had a penalty again. Not been able to watch it back, so I don't know. But it was a very really weird end to the game when that was disallowed, and then basically it's a final whistle after that. So it was a strange feeling at the final whistle, where I think there was a lot of frustration at the referee and how that had panned out, and then kind of just a little bit of disappointment that again we'd drop points at home where we probably needed to win.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because I mean that leads us now into it's currently 21st.
Yes.
Whereas Oldham are 16th. But before we quickly touch on the Swindon game that we'll be playing this Saturday, just 2 things. Firstly is the December Reds rollover draw. So this is for those that put in their money in November. So enjoying second place, yes, or third place. Great third place, one of them, is Nick Hilton and our very own Louie.
Yeah, I have nothing to do with the Reds rollover draw, by the way, anymore. Like I don't administrate it. I've got nothing. So this is, I promise you, this isn't anything to do with me.
And the winner is James Russo, who, funny enough, does administer the Reds rollover draw now.
Okay, right, I see. This is
but no, it's all done fairly.
Please do direct any complaints you have to Reuben as the CTSA's chair. I think that's the only
100%
course of action.
And also, before we jump on to Swindon, worth saying that if anyone does want to come join us on the podcast, whether for one or more an episode, then do get in touch. We'd be more than happy to have you come join us.
Absolutely, and it will make a change from me waffling on about XG and underlying numbers and complaining about referees and whatever. I'm sure the listeners will appreciate a fresh voice as well.
Yeah. So, moving on to Swindon, then we're going to third place Swindon. Ian Holloway's.
Yeah.
Going to the county ground. Their top goal scorer, 11 goals. They've got Ollie Palmer playing for them. They've got Tom Nichols playing for them. Is there any point?
Not really. No, I obviously that I think they are a good side. They're not in a false position by any means. They are pretty much exactly where you'd expect them to be based on the performances and based on they've got quality up front. As you've just gone over, they've got players like Tom Nichols, who, from what I've seen, has transitioned into a sort of central midfield role this season under Ian Holloway, which is quite fun.
He's too small to be up front, isn't he?
Well, yeah. Well, depends who you ask. Might be some strong opinions about that one.
By the way, that was not me saying that he is too small. That was quoting the owners from the previous.
Yes, in case there was any doubt, that's very much less said about that, the better. Moving on.
But I mean, it's going to be a tough game. I mean, Swindon's always a bit of a tough place to go.
It is.
They've got a good stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, at their last home game, they had their attendance was Oh, I can't even find the attendance. There was me trying to smooth it out to be like, oh, it was, and get an answer, but no, I didn't. So it was. Oh, come on. Bear me 2 seconds.
I can waffle on about Swindon for a bit while you find that. So yeah,
Please do. Please do.
they've got some. I mean, they've got a lot of just good attacking talent up front. Aaron Drinnan, averaging a goal and assist nearly every game. Joseph Snowden from midfield, again contributing a goal or an assist every other game. Ollie Palmer, similar up front. As we all know, his ability as a target man, and he's a good finisher. And then they've got players.
I don't care if we lose, as long as he doesn't score.
I mean, that would be a moral victory in itself, to borrow a phrase from the Ashes. So yeah, and obviously they've got players like Tom Nichols. They've also famously got Will Wright as well, who we've encountered before as a Swindon player after leaving Crawley, and yeah, we all know his quality on the ball from set pieces, and he's a solid defender at this level. Yeah, they've got a really just a good squad. They've got goals. They've got a good keeper at this level in Connor Ripley. They just are very and I'm quite surprised at how I wasn't a huge fan of the Ian Holloway appointment, but he's obviously doing a great job, and I've been proven wrong. They are. I mean, at this point, you'd have to say they're going up this season. They are very much a promotion contender. They sit third. They deserve to be third in the table. At this stage, I mean, obviously there's a lot of football to play, but at this stage, you think they're probably you'd back them to get promoted from here. A lot of quality, and it's a sort of game which can go two ways. If we play really well and we get something and we manage to shut down the various attacking threats that they've got, or we see the same old Crawley where we make some silly defensive errors and we let ourselves down and we are punished, probably by Ollie Palmer. So that's kind of, I think you can kind of see it going one or two ways, really.
Swindon, their last result was against Bristol Rovers, where they won 3-0. Before that, they lost to Cheltenham 1-0. But I mean, other than that, they've been pretty much unbeaten since the beginning of November.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be a tough game. And yeah, their average attendance is just under 10,000 this season.
Yeah, they're a team that there's a lot of momentum. Sometimes you get a club where things just click and they get a lot of momentum, and yeah, the crowd's lifted, the attendance has increased, they're playing good football, they're getting results, and it just makes them a really difficult opponent. We probably experienced that a couple of years ago when we were flying, well, not flying high, but where we had our playoff campaign. And yeah, like you said, they've lost one game in the last 10, I think it is, and they've played some decent sides in that period as well. Obviously, they went away to Chesterfield and won 2-1. They've played Grimsby and drew 2-2. They've gone to Notts. They've drawn at home to Notts County and Colchester, both good sides this season. And they've also beaten Bromley this season as well. So, I mean, I'm not going to go and reel off all their results, but they're clearly a pretty good team. They're not, they're not just flat track bullies. I would say.
Yeah, I mean, the only good thing about Swindon is it's half an hour away from where I live, so nice and easy. Nice and easy away day.
You can leave on the 60th minute when we're 3-0 down, and you'll be home before the match ends, which is a nice bonus. But
of course, I would never leave early, unlike somebody here.
I don't know what you mean. Yeah, I think one thing that does give me a bit of encouragement is I think over the last 10 games, and this is following the Oldham game, and I think a lot of people are going to absolutely hate me saying this, our XG ratio, which is basically how our XG compares to our opponents over that period, so in games. So how basically it's a measurement of how well we're playing. It's a measurement of, are we creating more chances than the opposition? Are we playing well? Doesn't obviously, it's not obviously what's going to get us, out of trouble, and it doesn't really show on the table. It doesn't really matter, but it is an indication of the quality of our performances. And it's basically how, I think I'm doing a really bad job of explaining this, but it's basically how the chances in the game were weighted towards you or your opponent as a percentage. And ours is playoff level. We're apparently playing like a playoff level team over the last 10 games, and it's very difficult to square that with our results and the general feeling around the club and the general feeling about the players and the team and how everything's going. But this is kind of what I keep saying every time we jump on to record a podcast. Our performances and all the data that kind of measures performances, apart from obviously the ones that matter, which is goals and results, is good. And so that's why it makes no sense as to where we are. We should be. This is what I was saying earlier. We should be a lot higher in the table than we are. So apologies for being a little bit nerdy about that and not giving a great explanation. But I think if there is something to be encouraged by going into kind of the next couple of weeks where we play, we've got a really busy schedule. Obviously Swindon away. Well, I think the other thing that encourages me is that we haven't got a lot of travelling to do over the next few weeks. Go to Swindon, not a couple of hours up the road, not the worst journey. Obviously 2 home games and then away to Barnet, which again only up the road. So hopefully that gives us a bit of chance to recover between games rather than going to places like, for example, Harrogate or Barrow. I mean, imagine if we had Barrow away on the 29th and Harrogate away on New Year's Day. It would be absolutely, it'd be horrible in terms of recovery and distance travelled. So that's one thing that I think might give a bit of optimism. And also generally the results should improve. If we keep playing largely as we are and kind of stop letting ourselves down with silly mistakes at each end of the pitch, the performances should improve. And there is a lot of reason to think that with some smart recruitment in January, things will turn around. You just kind of have to hope we get there in one piece. So that's not a given by any means, but
still lots of games before January, and the most important is this Saturday. So hopefully we can get the 3 points, and we'll be able to kickstart our season again.
Yeah, it feels like we've had a couple of these where we've had sort of runs of 4 games where we've played well and we've got some good results, and then it's just tapered off again.
Definitely.
So yeah.
Well, thanks very much, Louie, for joining me this evening. It's much appreciated, as always.
Not a problem.
And no doubt we'll see some of you at a Crawley Town game shortly. So come on, you Reds.
Come on, you Reds.